The male protagonist, Nagi, was taken back to the wrong house when he was born, which turns him from a child of a rich family to a poor kid, and the child who was taken to his original house was a girl. Their parents, in order to raise both of them, ask them to be a couple immediately. Therefore, Nagi has a sexy fiancée and is forced to live with her. When his sister, Sachi, knows her brother is not her biological brother, she also confesses her love to him and forcibly moves into his house. But Nagi is not satisfied, and remains a romantic relationship with the school belle. Which girl will he choose to be the queen of his harem? Like and subscribe, and let's get it revealed. Although living in an ordinary family, the male protagonist Nagi grows up to have excellent grades and is also very good at housework. His sister Sachi likes him very much, and when she learns her mistaken brother will leave at any moment, she is very sad. Seeing this, Nagi promises never to leave them. One day, Nagi meets a very beautiful girl, Erika, standing on the railing of the flyover. He mistakenly thinks she is going to end her life, immediately rushing over to take her down but touches the softest part of her by accident. To his surprise, Erika was just filming a video of her pretending to end her life. She is 16 years old and a very popular internet celebrity. Because her parents want her to marry someone she doesn't know, she planned to use the video to make things go viral, thus urging her parents to discourage her from getting married. This reminds Nagi of the fact that he was switched in the hospital when he was a baby. It seems they are in a very similar situation as they are both worried about family issues. During their conversation, Erika discovers that Nagi attends a key high school and excels in academics, which makes him an ideal partner. This leads her to decide to fake a relationship with him and defy the arranged engagement set by her parents. However, Nagi doesn't believe it will succeed and turns down her proposal. Undeterred, Erika shows him a video she just recorded, in which Nagi touched her intimately, and she intends to use it as a threat to force him to agree. To avoid the video being exposed, Nagi reluctantly agrees to her request. Because none of them has ever been in a relationship, Erika searches the internet for things couples would do. Nagi, fearing that Erika is deceiving him, asks to see the search results, while Erika refuses to give him her phone. In the scramble, she accidentally turns on the camera and takes a photo of them. Nagi offers to use the photo as evidence of their relationship, and Erika can send it to her parents. But Erika, wanting them both to look perfect, rejects him, and proposes to buy couple outfits. She's from a wealthy family, so without concern about the price, she buys a pair of fashionable couple outfits. With the outfits on, they take a lot of photos, but none of them looks natural. Erika believes a good photo conveys the sense of the air of the moment, and after selecting, she sends their first photo to her father. Unexpectedly, her lie is immediately exposed. While Erika contemplates her next move, a gang of troublemakers approaches them. These guys seem to be like stalkers, tracking Erika's whereabouts based on the information she shared online. Nagi displays his fighting prowess, swiftly knocking out their leader with a single punch and warning them to stay away from Erika. Witnessing this fight for the first time, Erika becomes captivated by Nagi's impressive actions. Inspired by his bravery, she resolves to use her strength to repel her fiancé, just like Nagi did with those troublemakers. Before parting, Erika says to Nagi, "If only you were my fiancé." Although she soon explains that she was just joking, Nagi still blushes. Right now, none of them expects that Erika's joke would become a reality. When Nagi meets his biological parents, he is told that he and Erika will get married. Erika is surprised that her fiancé turns out to be Nagi, but she still attacks him as she promised. Despite this, they are officially announced to be fiancés. However, Nagi has secretly admired a female classmate named Hiro, who holds the top rank in their grades while Nagi comes in second. Hiro's ideal type is someone more intelligent than her, and Nagi decides to confess his feelings to her when he manages to get the first place. But his arranged marriage with Erika has disrupted his plans. Now, he must accelerate his approach and sabotage the marriage. Seizing the opportunity of running into Hiro on the first day of the new semester, Nagi boldly challenges her, promising to outperform her in the upcoming exam. While Nagi studies hard for the exam, he suddenly receives the news that Erika is coming to visit. His parents are busy running the restaurant, thus giving Nagi the task of hosting her. Erika is used to living in a mansion and has never seen a normal size apartment, where there isn't chair, and she sits down directly on the locker. Not until Nagi reminds her that she can sit on the floor, does she realize she was sitting in the wrong place. Even more exaggerated, Erika mistakenly thinks it is just a warehouse and urges Nagi to show her around the house as soon as possible. This shocks Nagi so much that he can only repeatedly explain that this is the entire apartment his family live in. Looking around, Erika is surprised to see Nagi and Sachi's rooms separated by only a curtain. Sympathized with Nagi's accommodation, Erika decides to take him to her home. Walking around her mansion, Nagi is surprised to find that even the pet's room is larger than his apartment. He deeply feels the gap between the two families, more sure of canceling the improperly arranged marriage since people from different worlds aren't meant to be a couple. Erika thinks the same, and her intention of visiting was to have a talk with her birth parents. Knowing that they'll stay in the restaurant they run till late at night, Erika decides to go to the restaurant to find them. In Nagi's perspective, Erika should have acted like a proud and spoiled princess, and he expects her to engage in a heated argument with his parents to rebel against the marriage arrangement. To his surprise, Erika decides to run away. Nagi catches up with her and inquires why she left abruptly. Overwhelmed with emotions, Erika can't hold back her tears. As it turns out, she was simply worried about causing trouble and didn't know how to respond to their kindness. Nagi consoles her, urging her to relax since his parents are genuinely easy to get along with. With Nagi's gentle persuasion, Erika agrees to return to the restaurant, and the family shares a delightful dinner together. After dinner, Erika's father takes them to a big house, which is announced to be the place they'll live together for 2 weeks. It turns out that the father has long known that they are not in a relationship, but he believes they are brought together, and cohabitation may help them grow feelings for each other. However, Nagi and Erika never want to marry each other, and they thus make a cohabitation rule of non-interference. To Nagi's delight, his room is so spacious that he no longer has to share a room with Sachi and can concentrate on preparing for the exam. He then develops a series of study plans, but with nobody disturbing him, he doesn't wake up until 10 o'clock the next morning. Just then, he hears Erika screaming in the bathroom, rushing to check. It turns out Erika saw a gecko when taking a shower. She wants Nagi to deal with it, but as Nagi rushes in, he is taken aback by the gecko. Leaving with no other choice, Erika can only grab the gecko herself and throw it out the window. Later, as Nagi is studying with his phone, it suddenly runs out of battery. Consequently, he goes to ask Erika to borrow a charger and study materials. She agrees to lend them to him on the condition that Nagi helps her take some pictures. Surprisingly, during the photo session, Nagi accidentally captures an embarrassing moment of Erika. When questioned by her, he becomes flustered and inadvertently falls on her. Erika kicks him hard, demanding that he retakes the photo. Since she is quite particular about her pictures, Nagi can never meet her high standards. To speed up the photo shoot, Nagi playfully sprays water on Erika and manages to capture a stunning photo. Erika is delighted with the result and wants Nagi to take more pictures, but he declines. In retaliation, she sprays water on him, sparking a playful water fight that continues until dusk. During their fun, Erika becomes curious about Nagi's strong passion for studying. He explains that he wants to excel academically to make life easier for his parents. After that, Nagi asks Erika about her aspiration to become an influencer. Erika reveals that she seeks internet fame to connect with a specific person. By becoming famous, she hopes that this person will notice her presence and reach out to her. To thank Erika for her lending him stuff, Nagi prepares dinner for her, only to find his school supplies have been sent here by his sister long time ago. Thinking that he has wasted a whole day, he feels very devastated. The next day at school, Nagi receives a letter from Hiro in the locker, asking him to meet her on the rooftop after school. Even stranger, while he is checking the letter, Hiro is hiding in a corner to peek at him. Hiro is widely admired at school, but she and Nagi haven't interacted much before, so Nagi is puzzled by her sudden actions. Later, he receives the transcript of the last exam and finds out that he has ranked first. Putting together the fact that Hiro must have known his test results and the way she peeked at him, he begins to suspect that she might be planning to confess her feelings to him. After school, Hiro tells Nagi what she really thinks. Because she didn't take the exam last time, Nagi became number 1. She is so competitive that she swears never to lose to Nagi again. Nagi is captivated by her once again, determined to surpass her. Unfortunately, Nagi falls ill the day before the exam. Erika deliberately changes into a nurse's costume to roleplay, while Nagi has seen through her purpose and drives her away. He wants to concentrate on his studies, but faints from a fever. Hearing the noise, Erika hurries to check on Nagi. Eventually, under the care of Erika, Nagi gradually regains his health. Although it's a good thing to study hard, Nagi should also spare some attention to his health. Erika tells him. Touched by the words, Nagi feels that Erika is like his family. Now he achieves his wish of taking first place after the mock test. Encouraged by his success, he plucks up the courage to confess his feelings to Hiro. However, Hiro turns down his confession. Despite having gone through 12 exams together, Nagi has only beaten her once without counting the one she missed, which indicates that she is still the more intelligent one. Upon hearing this, Nagi refuses to give up, determined to surpass her 10 more times. Hiro remains confident in herself, firmly believing that she will always be ahead of Nagi, no matter what they do. During their lively argument, they decide to compete to see who can reach downstairs and grab the bag first. In the end, Nagi wins, but Hiro's attitude remains unchanged. She candidly informs Nagi that she is already engaged and is unlikely to accept him. When Nagi returns to the big house, he is told that the cohabitation is over. He happily packs up his things and returns home as soon as possible, only to be told that the apartment is under repair, and the family is now staying in a small rental accommodation, where there's no space for Nagi. Leaving with no other choice, he returns to the house, only to find Erika, who is trying to live independently, remains here. Hence, they become roommates again. One day, Sachi comes to visit in order to get close to her sister Erika. Nagi also wants the sisters to get acquainted as soon as possible, proposing that they prepare a meal together. However, Erika is very bad at cooking, causing only problems for Nagi. As for Sachi, she is too nervous to speak to Erika. In the end, Nagi finishes the chicken nuggets on his own. During the meal, he finds that the sisters eat in exactly the same way. With his reminder, Erika also realizes their similarity and suddenly feels close to Sachi. Learning that Sachi has few clothes, she offers to give some to her. Next, let's see what happened in the school library, where Nagi encounters Hiro once again. Upon learning that Nagi frequents the library for daily studies, Hiro approaches him seeking advice on effective learning methods. As Hiro shows an interest in his schedule, Nagi mistakenly interprets her actions as a sign of affection, thinking that she's possibly hinting at the idea of being with him rather than her fiancé. Surprisingly, as they study together, they stumble upon a shared passion for collecting seals, which brings joy to Hiro. She suggests the idea of studying together every morning, which further strengthens Nagi's belief that they are well suited for each other. He firmly believes that they can overcome any challenges and ultimately become a couple. Back to class, Nagi is surprised to see Erika as a transfer student. It turns out she accidentally posted the picture of her and Nagi on social media. Although she quickly deleted it, someone saved the photo and reported it to the head teacher, who required Erika to come to his office to talk about the issue. However, on the appointed day, Nagi got sick. To take care of him, Erika missed the time, thus being kicked out of the school. At her father's suggestion, she transferred to Nagi's school. The first friend Erika met at her new school is Hiro, who warmly shows Erika around the campus. Since Nagi confessed to Hiro without telling her about his engagement, he is worried that Erika would know about it and thus stalks them secretly. After school, Nagi stumbles upon Hiro in tears. Concerned that Erika might have done something bad, he quickly reassures Hiro that Erika is a kind person and there must be some misunderstanding. To his amazement, Hiro is actually a fan of Erika, and her tears are of happiness after she had a delightful day with Erika. Realizing that Erika might be struggling with her studies, Hiro proposes that Erika joins them in their morning study sessions. This way, they can support Erika in her academics and help her catch up with the classes. After returning home, Nagi tells Erika about him being rejected by Hiro, but he hides Hiro's engagement, only revealing that he wants to surpass Hiro 10 times in a row. Erika mistakes Hiro for trying to test Nagi and decides to help him win Hiro's favor. In the morning study gathering that followed, Erika deliberately puts on Cupid's cosplay costume, which Hiro considers to be cute and she doesn't overthink. But when Erika knows more about Hiro, she discovers that Hiro is far better than Nagi. She thinks they are not suitable and suggests Nagi give up sooner rather than later. Seeing Nagi and Erika being close, Hiro feels envious. In order to get close to Erika, she asks if she can go visit Erika's home. Erika, not wanting to disclose her cohabitation with Nagi, decides to bring Hiro to her parents' house instead. Meanwhile, Nagi, enjoying the chance to be alone, feels so at ease that he immediately takes off his clothes upon arriving home. However, just then, Erika returns with Hiro unexpectedly. It turns out that her nanny mentioned the place she currently lives, leaving Erika with no choice but to bring Hiro there. In a hurry, Nagi puts on his shirt and tidies up his belongings. Then, a group of bad boys break into the house. Worried that the girls will be frightened, Nagi immediately chases the bad boys away. With his effort, Hiro doesn't notice anything abnormal, and she again has a good time with Erika. A few days later, Hiro extends an invitation to Nagi and Erika to study at her home. Her parents manage a large shrine, and Hiro serves as a Miko. While there, Hiro seizes the opportunity to have a private conversation with Nagi. It turns out that her rejection of Nagi wasn't solely due to her engagement. As a Miko, she's required to devote both her body and heart to the god during her reign, leaving her unable to fall in love with Nagi. Hiro confides in Nagi, trusting that he can lend a helping hand with her struggles. This makes Nagi realize his importance to Hiro and he wants to learn more about her. Coincidentally, the school organizes an excursion that provides Nagi with a chance to team up with Hiro. Erika doesn't sign up for it to leave the space for them. That day after school, Nagi once again confirms to Hiro the conditions of accepting him. And this time, Hiro doesn't reject Nagi like before. She reveals that since she was born, her life has been arranged by her parents. But now, she hopes that Nagi will try to change her fate. Encouraged by this, Nagi decides to redouble his efforts to become a better person. His joy is short-lived as, upon arriving home, Erika shares the bad news with Nagi, one of their classmates. Cheyenne, who happens to be an avid fan of Erika, has found out about their daily morning study sessions. Believing that Erika will be on the same field trip as Nagi and Hiro, Cheyenne forcefully inserts himself into their group. To prevent him from causing disruptions during the trip, Erika decides to participate in the trip. Cheyenne loves Erika very much, but he also notices that Nagi and Erika are close, so he specifically asks for Nagi's opinion before embarking on his pursuit. Nagi expresses his support for Cheyenne, but he couldn't help keeping an eye on Erika and Cheyenne for the rest of his journey. Even when he is with Hiro, he can't concentrate. Before the trip ends, Erika intends to take a set of photos by the sea. Nagi is in charge of the photography, but Erika is not satisfied with the photos he took. She wants to present friendship in the photos, while Hiro is nowhere to find, leaving her without a friend to photograph with. As she tries to snatch the phone to delete the photos Nagi took, they accidentally take a selfie, in which Erika thinks she looks quite good. It's a pity that since Nagi is also in the photo, she can't post them on social media. Just then, Nagi recalls what Erika once said she was using the internet to find someone, but when he asks Erika about it, she tells him that if he knows the truth, his fate may change. Following the trip, Sachi decides to move in with them, explaining to Erika that she simply doesn't want to be apart from her brother. Nagi happens to overhear their conversation. In his memory, Sachi has always had an affection for him since their childhood, and they share a strong bond. Empathizing with Sachi's emotions, he promptly calls his parents to let them know that Sachi will stay with him for some time. When Erika and Sachi go out shopping together, many passers-by recognize Erika. To protect his sister and fiancé, Nagi hurriedly catches up with them. Sachi has been around Erika since she moved in, so Nagi hardly has a chance to talk to Erika. Not until Sachi falls asleep does he find an opportunity to be alone with Erika. However, Nagi steps back as he suddenly remembers Erika once told him that knowing the truth will change his life. Therefore, he decides to question about it when he is ready. Soon after, Nagi receives a date request from Hiro, and they come to the amusement park. Although Nagi isn't into some exciting rides, his affection for Hiro drives him to do everything for her. Upon Nagi's arrival home, his father appears and invites him, Erika, and Sachi to go fishing at sea. Despite having experienced seasickness and not enjoying fishing since childhood, he is always forced by his father to go out fishing. Not wanting to endure it again, Nagi resolves to challenge his father in a fishing tournament. Regrettably, he overestimates his abilities and ends up losing to his father. On the way back, Nagi recalls what his father has told him, that fishing would help him forget his troubles, and his father used to take him out fishing when he was thinking about important things. Though years have passed by, his father's care for him never changes. Nagi realizes how fishing brings he and his father close, agreeing to come again next time. Mother's Day is approaching, so Nagi and Sachi come to the mall to buy gifts for their mother. It's the first time Nagi has ever been out with Sachi since he spent all his time studying before. Sachi looks cute, and as they don't look alike, others treat them as a couple. Sadly, after wandering around the mall, they are still unable to find the perfect gift. During a break, Sachi suddenly recalls that they once painted different portraits of their mother, in which their mother was always wearing aprons, so she suggests buying an apron as a gift. Nagi praises Sachi and feels fortunate to have her as his sister. Little does he know that Sachi doesn't want him to see her as just a sister. They then secretly place the gift in front of their parents' home. Meanwhile, Erika is dining with her mother at a fine restaurant. Her mother asks her what she thinks of Nagi and Sachi. Without thinking much, Erika answers that they are a good match and should be arranged for marriage. Knowing this from his wife, Erika's father decides to have a talk with his daughter as well. But Erika doesn't want to see her father, thus forcibly taking Nagi out before her father comes over. Erika knows that her father is determined to take her home and feels unwilling to accept his arrangement, but she suddenly remembers that she left her phone and wallet behind, which means she can't stay outside for long. Nagi empathizes with her situation and respects her ideas. As a result, he takes her to the river, allowing her to experience how people with limited means find relaxation. Elsewhere, as Erika's father didn't see his daughter in the house, he has a conversation with Sachi, wondering if Nagi and Erika are fit to get married. Sachi thinks their personalities are very different, which however, make them a matched couple. After the conversation, Erika's father gives her a gift in the hope that she will continue to share information with him. Afterward, a thunderstorm causes a power outage in Nagi and Erika's home. This situation triggers Erika's fear as she recalls a story about an alien attack on Earth. Feeling scared, she decides to follow Nagi when he tries to get his phone, not wanting to be alone. Unfortunately, Nagi's phone runs out of battery, while Erika's phone also shuts down. In this case, they can only light spare candles at home. While waiting for the power to be restored, Erika speaks her true mind. Recently, she has experienced a lot of things that she could never imagine at home and is indeed happy every day. Then, she suddenly remembers that there are emergency tools in the cabinet at the entrance, asking Nagi to get them. Walking alone to the entrance, Nagi bumps into Sachi, who has just returned home, and he accidentally kisses her on the lips. He thought it was Erika who followed. Not until the electricity is restored does he realize he just kissed Sachi. Nagi regards it as a mistake, asking Sachi to forget about it. However, Sachi, who deeply loves Nagi, can't forget about it at all. Seeing his careless attitude, Sachi is so upset that she decides to stop talking to him. During their study session the next morning, Nagi opens up to Hiro about his struggles. He confesses that he has always been immersed in his studies, often failing to grasp the emotions of others and sometimes inadvertently hurting their feelings. Hiro appreciates his honesty, and she encourages him to be brave and express his thoughts openly. Back at home, Nagi takes Hiro's advice to heart and apologizes to Sachi. He promises to respect her and treat her as a woman from now on. Touched by his heartfelt apology, Sachi forgives him, and they reconcile. Before the midterm exams, Nagi takes the initiative to invite Hiro for a date in Tokyo Library, without considering the rule of keeping quiet in libraries. Therefore, they can only chat by passing notes. After the library closes, Hiro takes him to the kickboxing club. It turns out she has been learning kickboxing recently, and wants Nagi to accompany her in practice. Nagi also becomes interested in kickboxing and they have a very pleasant day. Just then, Erika, who is passing by, sees them being together. Erika somehow gets jealous and forcibly asks Nagi to have a date with her. She buys a new outfit for Nagi and takes him to the reptile club, where they spend some time together, and then they go running. Nagi is extremely exhausted after all this, wondering why Erika suddenly wants to date him. Erika reveals how she saw Nagi and Hiro at the kickboxing club. While she supports them being a couple, she also realized how much Nagi means to her when she saw them together. Curious, Nagi asks if she has a crush on him, but Erika denies it, claiming that the feeling isn't romantic affection. Her words put Nagi in a conflict. When he thinks of Erika, he finds that his heart beats so fast that he begins to wonder if he still likes Hiro. To figure out what love means, Nagi goes to his parents' place to check their love letters. He coincidentally runs into his father, who shares a story about how popular his mother was in school. To win her heart, his father wrote numerous love letters. Nagi is taken aback by the idea that being obsessed with someone can have such a profound impact. He becomes increasingly uncertain about whether he truly likes Hiro. Observing his confusion, his father advises him to close his eyes and try to imagine who he really likes. Surprisingly, Nagi sees 3 girls at the same time. In the end, he is still unable to figure out which one he truly likes. Nevertheless, he decides to send a text to Erika, telling her that he hasn't fallen for her as well. Afterward, the mid-exam day comes, but Nagi can't concentrate on the exam as he keeps thinking about which girl he likes. Coupled with the fact that he did not pay much attention to his studies these days, he only takes the 13th this time, much regressed from his usual grades. Nagi feels very frustrated, especially when knowing that Hiro once again takes first place. For Nagi, grades is everything. He is so devastated this time that he forgets to cook. His fiancée Erika reassures him that his value doesn't change no matter he takes the 1st or the 13th, which impresses Nagi, and he decides to cheer up. Nagi continues to study with Erika and Hiro daily, determined to seize the chance to tell Hiro that he will undoubtedly fulfill his promise to surpass her 11 times. Unfortunately, Hiro is still absent today, leaving only Erika to join the study session. However, Erika seems unfocused on studying, which frustrates Nagi, prompting him to express his complaint. At that moment, Hiro accidentally overhears them roughhousing. Seeing their closeness makes her feel upset, so she decides not to interrupt them. Then, Nagi comes to Hiro asking her why she didn't show up this morning, while Hiro lies that she forgot her books at home and missed the time. Nagi still senses the strangeness as Hiro seems to be deliberately avoiding him. After school, Nagi receives a note from Hiro asking him to meet at the gym. Nagi shows up in time, swearing to Hiro that he will take first place in the next exam. He feels sorry that he has failed her expectations and hopes that she would still like to witness his hard work and achievement. Hiro tells Nagi she just felt a little lost. She thought that she was the one who understood him best, and only she could encourage him. However, he got out of his depression in less than a day without her. She guesses that he was encouraged by Erika, which brought her a strong sense of drop. Learning of Hiro's true thoughts, Nagi is very touched. He realizes that his favorite girl is still Hiro and he vows to try his best to win first place. Back home, Nagi is ready to study harder, but Erika suddenly interrupts him, asking if he can tutor her, because if she can't do well in the makeup exam, her father will send her back to her hometown. With just 1 week remaining before the makeup exam, Erika manages to find a way to enjoy herself amidst the pressure. She dons a stunning officer uniform, emphasizing the urgency of the upcoming task. Intrigued by this, Nagi wonders why Erika's father made this decision. As it turns out, Erika has been struggling to keep up with the rigorous schedule of her new school, resulting in her ranking last in the midterm exams. Her father finds this unacceptable and resorts to using threats to try and motivate her to improve her grades. Nagi promises to tutor Erika, but she obviously studied nothing before, and for 3 hours, she fails to work out even one question. Nagi is furious about Erika's slack attitude toward studying, while also taking up his study time. Erika denies what he said, argues with him and stops asking for his help. That's when Nagi recalls the days he spent with Erika and suddenly realizes that he doesn't want her to leave. When he sees her staying up late studying, he decides to really devote himself to helping her. As her fiancé, he vows to change her fate. Before the retake begins, Nagi sets a strict study plan for Erika, and thankfully, Nagi's training works very well. With his help, Erika achieves good results in the retake and thus won't be sent back to her hometown. Sachi congratulates Erika and invites her to a festival held on this weekend, when her parents will sell yakisoba there. Erika accepts her invitation and is looking forward to it. During the festival, Nagi and Sachi volunteer to help at the yakisoba stall. Suddenly, Sachi accidentally steps on her shoelaces and almost loses her balance. Fortunately, Nagi quickly catches her, and a customer witnessing the scene mistakes them for a couple, praising them as a good match. Sachi, who has always had feelings for Nagi, can't help but blush. Just then, Hiro arrives at their stall. Nagi introduces Sachi as his sister and asks her to greet Hiro. However, Sachi, knowing that Hiro is the girl Nagi likes, ignores her. Unaware of Sachi's prejudice towards her, Hiro extends a friendly invitation to Nagi to explore the festival together later on. As the yakisoba is sold out, Sachi and Erika change into yukata and go around the festival together. On their way, they encounter Hiro, who is confused and surprised when hearing Erika introducing Sachi as her sister. She then starts to doubt the relationship between Erika, Nagi and Sachi. Hiro is supposed to meet Nagi then, but gets occupied by the affairs of her family's shrine. Therefore, Nagi, unable to have a date with Hiro, is arranged by his parents to show Erika around. He takes her to try a lot of games, and she has a very good time. With dinner still pending, Nagi decides to treat Erika to okonomiyaki. Erika, who has never experienced eating on the street, accidentally drops some food crumbs on the ground. Sensing her unease, Nagi understands that she isn't accustomed to eating at the festival, so he gently leads her away. However, as they try to escape the crowd, they unexpectedly run into 3 crazy fans of Erika's. To avoid being chased by them, Nagi runs away with Erika, holding her hand. For Erika, this festival is an interesting experience. She used to vacation abroad every summer and has never felt the local customs of Japan, so this summer is the most special one. At this moment, Nagi is infected by her happiness. They are on the flyover together, watching the fireworks with smiles. Meanwhile, Hiro regrets that she missed the opportunity to spend the night with Nagi. Before the fireworks are over, she finally finds Nagi, who is however with Erika. She can't help but ask about their relationship with Sachi. This is out of Erika's expectation, and before answering Hiro, she takes Nagi somewhere else to have a talk. After deliberating, they decide to tell Hiro the truth. Their special experience shocks Hiro. In exchange, she speaks about her fiancé arranged by her family. After exchanging secrets, their relationship becomes closer. Before parting, Hiro suddenly grabs Nagi. They agree that there will be no more secrets between them in the future. Just then, Sachi passing by happens to see them together, and she is very jealous. Curious to learn more about Hiro, the girl Nagi has feelings for, Sachi comes up with an idea. She proposes to play a detective game with Erika, hoping to gather information about Hiro. Throughout the day, they follow Hiro around, only to discover that she is not only kind-hearted but also great with kids. Observing Sachi's unusual behavior, Erika understands her true intentions. Erika advises Sachi that stalking is not a good approach and instead suggests that she should have an open and honest conversation with Hiro. She emphasizes that Hiro is an amazing person, and she looks forward to seeing her at school every day. As Sachi knows more about Hiro, she feels that Nagi is not worthy of her. As soon as she returns home, she expresses her displeasure to Nagi. In order to supervise Nagi, Sachi plans to attend the same school as him. Then it's the school open day, and Sachi comes to visit. Hiro happens to be her docent, showing her around the campus. During the process, Sachi asks Hiro what she thinks of Nagi. A candid Hiro reveals that she has a fiancé, as well as her rival relationship in study with Nagi. These words cause Sachi to mistakenly think that Hiro does not like Nagi, and she thus believes that they can get along well. Following the school open day, Nagi, along with Erika, accompanies Sachi to their parents' restaurant. Nagi is well aware that once Sachi sets her mind on something, she will undoubtedly achieve it. Regrettably, the private high school he attends is expensive. Even if Sachi qualifies as a special student like him, there will still be various fees for textbooks and activities, and this problem should be addressed through a discussion with her parents. Fortunately, Sachi's parents are supportive, even willing to sell the restaurant to fund her education. However, Sachi strongly opposes the idea, not wanting her parents' years of hard work to go in vain. She would rather opt for a public high school instead. Just as the argument escalates, Erika intervenes. She points out that there is still half a year left before Sachi starts high school, and they can explore alternative solutions without selling the restaurant. Erika encourages Sachi to focus on her studies and work hard to get admission. Eventually, Erika convinces everyone, bringing harmony back to the family. Before the final exams, Erika organizes a study stay at her lakeside villa. Sachi doesn't join because of her sickness, while their classmate, Cheyenne, invites himself. Since there is nothing in the villa, they need to go to the supermarket first. Erika proposes to go herself, but Cheyenne, who loves her, takes the lead to join her with the intention to spend some time alone with Erika. Therefore, Nagi and Hiro are left in the villa. Hiro takes Nagi to the lake to enjoy the scenery, taking the opportunity to tell him that she came here because of him, which makes Nagi extremely happy. Meanwhile, Cheyenne and Erika come to the supermarket together. He wants to confess to her, but he is too nervous to speak his true mind. Back at the villa, Cheyenne suggests going on a nighttime adventure in the nearby forest together. He proposes a partnership where they each team up with their respective crushes. However, to Nagi's surprise, Erika abruptly intervenes and insists on teaming up with him, dragging him away forcibly. It turns out that Erika forgot to bring any underwear, and she wants Nagi to accompany her to the convenience store. However, she feels too embarrassed to directly ask him, which leads Nagi to misunderstand her hesitation as fear. Playfully, he hides to scare her. Worried about exposing her private part, Erika finally plucks up the courage to reveal the truth. After returning from the supermarket, she took a shower only to discover that she had no spare underwear to put on. Initially, she sought help from Hiro, who casually dismissed the situation as not a big deal. Left with no other option, Erika turns to Nagi, who eventually agrees to go to the store with her. After that, they rush to the destination of this adventure, a shrine located deep in the forest. Erika thanks Nagi for his company and expresses her happiness to know him. Nagi feels the same. As the adventure ends, Nagi takes others to stargazing, which he enjoys a lot as a hobby. Just then, he receives the news that Sachi is hospitalized, and he has to rush back to visit her. Having ended the activity organized by Erika, Nagi is worried that she might tease him for having a sister complex. However, Erika remains silent, leaving Nagi to realize that he still doesn't fully understand her. In that moment, he recalls Erika mentioning her search for someone through the internet. Curious to learn more about her, Nagi asks Erika to share the story of that person with him. Erika then shows Nagi a family photo, where she stood next to a boy who looks very similar to Nagi. However, Erika explains, he is actually Nagi's older brother, Sosuke. She has been trying to find him ever since Sosuke disappeared, but for some reason, her family has already acquiesced to Sosuke's disappearance and given up looking for him. The first time she met Nagi, she was shocked by his look, almost mistaking him for Sosuke. Unfortunately, Nagi is not her brother. Nagi remembers the details of the days he spent with Erika, suspecting that he is being used as a substitute for Sosuke. Coupled with their similar appearance, he even suspects that he and Sosuke are the same person. Nagi wants to find out the truth, thus going to meet his biological father. Much to Nagi's surprise, his father firmly asserts that he is the only son. He goes on to share numerous heartwarming stories from Erika's childhood, displaying his profound parental affection for her. However, he also hints that if Nagi doesn't have feelings for Erika, he can marry Sachi, as it would be equally acceptable to both families. Nagi can't understand his biological father's thoughts, and he relays the words to Erika as soon as he returns home. In his opinion, this means that Erika can also marry Sosuke. Erika doesn't seem willing to talk about it, pretending that she wasn't listening to him. Nagi is still very curious about Sosuke, pondering over how to find him every day. He thinks of joining family searching shows, putting up some notices, and so on. Before he can figure out an effective way, Hiro suddenly invites him on a date. Nagi immediately accedes to it. She proposes to go cycling, and Nagi borrows his adoptive mother's bicycle. Actually, Nagi is not very good at cycling, and his bike has the restaurant sign on it, so the date is a bit embarrassing. As they pass by a hotel belonging to Nagi's biological father, whom Nagi has never acknowledged as a proper father, memories of past events flood into his mind. He feels that his biological father doesn't deserve the title of a caring parent, as he arranged the engagement between Nagi and Erika without considering their feelings and even kept the truth about Sosuke hidden from them. Hiro notices Nagi's bad mood, taking him to the seaside. Nagi seems to have a lot of troubles these days, and she wants him to be happy. Guided by Hiro, Nagi vents his emotions by shouting. At this time, he doesn't know that his biological father has had a talk with Sachi. If Nagi and Erika reject to get married in the end, he hopes Sachi can replace Erika to marry Nagi, and she should be prepared. She keeps these words in mind. That night, Sachi and Nagi go to the supermarket together, and when they come back, she proposes to play a game with Nagi, but gets rejected. Sachi suddenly becomes upset, accusing Nagi of being an unqualified brother. For all these years, he has never accompanied her to do things she wants. As she is getting more emotional, Sachi can't help but ask Nagi if he is willing to marry her. However, Nagi still rejects her, and she hurriedly explains that it was just a joke. Nagi wins first place in his class after the final exam, which is the result of his hard work, and he feels a great sense of pride. When Hiro asks to meet him, he seizes the opportunity to confess his feelings to her once more. With utmost sincerity, Nagi promises Hiro that he will maintain his academic excellence in the future, hoping that she might give him a chance to have a romance with her. However, Hiro remains resolute, claiming that he has only managed to surpass her twice so far, and she won't back down easily in their competition. As Nagi feels a bit disheartened by her response, Hiro opens up about her own feelings, wistfully wishing that he could be her fiancé instead. Nagi thinks Hiro is confessing to him, and he shows it off to Erika and Sachi after school. Sachi thinks Hiro didn't explicitly say that she liked Nagi, which is not a love confession. To find out what Hiro really thinks, Erika decides to organize a trip to the seaside and invites Hiro to join them. Nagi used to frequent the beach as a child, so he helps Erika prepare necessities. When they get home from shopping, Hiro is tutoring Sachi at their home. Hiro thus discovers that they are living together, feeling very complicated. Still, she likes Nagi, so she accepts Erika's invitation to go to her private beach. Nagi notices that Hiro has been avoiding him, so he quickly approaches her to explain why he lives with Sachi. They have promised not to hide secrets from each other, and Hiro is disappointed that Nagi didn't share this with her earlier. Despite her sadness, she forgives him and urges him not to repeat the same mistake. Interestingly, Hiro also shares her speculation with Nagi about Sachi's feelings, suggesting that Sachi might have romantic feelings for him, not just sisterly affection. Surprised by this, Nagi decides to confront Sachi directly about it, but to his surprise, he ends up getting scolded by her instead. Sachi is very upset. She thought that Hiro didn't like Nagi, so she never hid her feelings for Nagi in front of Hiro, who however, betrayed her. It turns out that after Hiro knew about the outrageous engagement between Nagi and Erika, she speculated that the engagement should still reach the family's expectation if Sachi replaces Erika. Hiro likes Nagi, and doesn't want him to marry someone else, thus very wary of Sachi. Knowing Hiro's thoughts, Sachi is surprised that she could figure out the plan of Nagi's biological father. Meanwhile, Nagi is bathing in an open-air bath, while Erika suddenly joins him, which makes him so shy because he isn't wearing underwear. Fearing that he would have a physiological response to Erika, he leaves the bath first. Erika finds out that he is naked, calling him a pervert. Before going to bed, Erika has a sudden realization that there are only 2 rooms in the villa. She then asks Nagi if he can sleep on the sofa. However, Nagi, who is afraid of spiders in the living room, declines her request. Eventually, they decide to draw lots to determine the room allocation. The result shows that Nagi will be sharing a room with Sachi, which leaves him feeling a little disappointed, while Erika and Hiro enjoy their time together in the other room. When they talk about their engagement, Hiro explains that she has never met her fiancé, and if Erika doesn't like Nagi, can she give him away? Erika wants to know if Hiro really likes Nagi, but she has fallen asleep, and Erika has no way of knowing the answer. Afterwards, Erika discovers the games and shower gel she used to play with as a child. Reflecting on these 2 items and the traces left in the villa, she comes to the conclusion that she must have been here with Sosuke in the past. Furthermore, she notices that the game was saved just 3 days ago, indicating that Sosuke might still be around. However, finding someone who is deliberately hiding is challenging. They search many places nearby but fail to uncover Sosuke's whereabouts. Erika expresses her gratitude to Nagi for his assistance and remains determined to continue searching for her brother. As they prepare to return, Hiro suddenly grabs Nagi and asks him to go somewhere with her. Because they all love collecting stampers, Hiro takes him to a nearby shrine, where they successfully get the stamper after praying. Just then, a strong wind strikes, causing the nearby station to be closed. There are no other means of transportation, so they can only stay in a hotel for the night. Hiro worries that the hotel forbids high school students from checking in, thus lying about their age, and even claiming to be newlyweds with Nagi. The hotel staff think they are a real couple, preparing only one quilt. To show a gentlemanly demeanor, Nagi vows to keep his distance from Hiro, but a gecko suddenly shows up in the room. Frightened, Nagi pounces on Hiro, who then takes this rare opportunity to invite him for a drink. Suddenly, they hear the voice of the police at the door, causing Nagi to be so anxious that he chooses to flee the room with Hiro through the window. He is worried that if their lie about their age is discovered, they could face expulsion from the school. Just as they are about to change their clothes, Erika and Sachi burst into the room. It turns out that upon hearing Nagi and Hiro were trapped, they hurried over to rescue them. As a prank, they pretended to be police officers. On the way back home, Nagi is exhausted and ends up sleeping in the car. A few days later, Erika receives an invitation to a birthday party from her biological father. Every year on his birthday, he prepares sumptuous dishes and takes pictures with his family. Although they are not rich, they are a happy family, and Erika has a great day with her birth parents in a warm and relaxing atmosphere. Towards the end of her summer vacation, Erika suddenly falls ill. Nagi immediately brings her medicine, but when he is going to hand it over, Erika is changing clothes, and he is thrown out by Hiro and Sachi. To help Erika recover, Hiro and Sachi refer to many folk remedies. Hiro suggests that Erika drink alcohol. Since the body temperature rises after drinking, she will sweat so that the fever can be reduced. While Sachi invites Erika to go to the bathhouse with her to perspire by taking a sauna. Erika doesn't want to live up to their kindness, but she is so weak that she faints again. Nagi takes a practical approach and prepares a delicious dish for Erika, hoping it will help her recover soon. He believes her sickness is a result of overworking and overthinking, as she has been taking care of others throughout the entire summer holiday but neglecting herself, especially when Hiro is around. Erika finishes the meal he prepared and expresses her gratitude. Little do they know that their conversation has been overheard by Hiro and Sachi from the doorway, and they realize that Erika and Nagi seem like a perfect couple. If they want to compete with Erika for Nagi's attention, they'll need to put in more effort. As the story is coming to an end, Erika receives a photo of the birthday party from her biological parents, which fills her with a sense of belonging to the family. At the same time, Sachi runs into Nagi's biological father once more, who is delighted to hear about the progress in Erika and Nagi's relationship. He has no intention of intervening in their romantic feelings, and whether Erika and Nagi can truly become a couple depends entirely on them. However, given their current situation, they still have a long journey ahead. That brings the end of the first season. Rumor has it that cuckoos like to put their eggs in other nests for hatching. The encounter between Nagi and Erika fits the name of this anime very well. Now let's put aside the strange settings of this anime and instead talk about the 3 female characters in this anime. They are not only beautiful but also have good personality, which is different from some anime that deliberately adds some annoying and somewhat perverted settings to the characters, in order to highlight the differences between them. I think if I were Nagi, I must have had a hard time choosing a girl to be my wife. At the end of the video, I want to ask you a question. If you were Nagi, which girl would you choose? Feel free to leave your answers in the comment area. Thanks for watching. In the end, don't forget to like and subscribe. There are many interesting anime recaps on my channel, and I hope they can help you get rid of boredom. Bye!